All right, so let's take a look at 3 new projects. Today we have Pressure, Orange, and Glossy. And as you can see, I wanted to work this time a little bit with cloth simulation. And again, I'm trying every time, every 3 days to kind of get inside of new aspect of Blender. And in this case, I think it was time finally to get in some simulations. And I tried to do my best, working with kind of the cloth simulation, but I came up with a lot of issues. And coming from Cinema 4D, in Cinema 4D, there's a lot of things that are just easier to work with. I'm finding that the simulation aspect of Blender is just not that great in many cases, but yeah. So for this 3 project, I did follow a tutorial to get me started because I had no idea how to start working with cloth. And I followed this tutorial right here from Robbie Tilton. So I'm going to have a link down to the tutorial, and he does show his cloth setup, but I came up a couple of issues while trying his specific setup because of course the video is 2 years old, and some things may have changed because it didn't really work out great for me, but I'm going to show you some workaround that I found. And yeah, so let's get inside the first project, which is Pressure. And it's going to take some time to load because these are heavy files. All right, so we are inside of the project. Let's take a look at the geometry node first of all. And I'm going to go out of my camera so you can see pretty much how this looks like. So in his tutorial, he was using a torus to kind of encapsulate the spheres, but I wanted to make a cube and have this nice outcome here. So yeah, let's go back inside of the camera and let's talk a little bit about the setup. So I think, yeah, so I did bake the frame. So I'm going to delete my bake so I can show you the process. And I also need to get my timeline. So I'm going to open up a new tab and timeline. So yeah, so we can see where we are. So I'm going to go back to the first frame, and I'm going to let you know what's happening here in the setup. So we have a cube mesh to volume. We distribute points in the volume. So before doing anything, I think I need to take down my subdivision because yeah, it's getting pretty heavy. And I'm going to put this to 1 so I can play around a little bit with the distance, so I can show you what's happening. And that's a nice little tool to be able to, sparse out the spheres so you don't have any colliding object. And yeah, so I'm going to leave this at maybe a little bit less so we can have real-time simulation. Next, we have instance on point. So on each point, we're going to have an instance. In this case, it's the icosphere. And I'm going to actually make this a little bit bigger, and I'm going to change the subdivision. This is a little bit too much. I'm going to leave the subdivision to 3. After that, I added a random value inside of the store name attribute. This is so we can randomize the color of each ball. We realize the instance so that every sphere is a separate object. Set shade smooth and the material. So yeah, that's our node setup. And let's go inside of the modifier. As you can see, we have our geometry node, which are the spheres here. And after that, so I'm going to close the subdivision for now. After that, we have our cloth settings. To access the cloth settings, it says here settings are inside the physics tab. So I'm going to go to the physics tab, which is down below, and this is the cloth simulation. So as you can see, there's a lot of things that you can mess around with, and just to be safe, I'm going to save this file in my desktop because it may crash, I'm not really sure, but yeah. Speed multiplier set to 1, so this is the default. Tension 3.5 and the friction to 5. So the important thing to understand about the physics is that everything is geometry based, which means that if for some reason you start to change the subdivision on the spheres, it's going to have another outcome, and you will need to readjust the simulation so that it works as intended. So in this case, this is the geometry that we have, and I'm going to go back to my cloth. And of course, you know, in our cube, I added a collision, and you just add a modifier collision. And inside of the physics tab, it's pretty much set to default, so there's nothing really here to change. So I'm going to go to my spheres again. And all right, let's try to run this animation and hope for the best. So I'm going to click on press. And as you can see, everything disappeared, right? So in the tutorial that Robbie shows, you need to play around with the tension and with the pressure. So let's change that to 100. So it was 250. Now we are starting to see the ball before it vanishes. So I'm going to go down 50. Yeah, we see a little bit more. Let's go 10 for now. And now we have something that actually works, right? Nothing vanishes. So now we can go a little bit up, 20. We are starting to have this distortion, which there's not really a lot of things you can do in this case. And let's go 15. Yeah, so this is okay, right? So this works pretty much how we want it. So I'm going to leave this as 15. So it was at 250 because keep in mind, I did had a subdivision of 4 and now this is a subdivision of 3 and I did had a lot more spheres. So, you know, every time you're trying to add geometry, you will have to change and play around with the settings. So we have our pressure set to 15 and the tension set to 3. I think the default is 5 on this. So let's try 5. Yeah, let's try 3. Yeah, so again, let's try 3.5. And yeah, it's going to take some time. It's not going to collide with the cube. Yeah, so, you know, this is a big issue. The thing is, even if you play around with the quality steps, and the quality of the collision, it's not going to change anything. So you need to really play around with the tension to figure out, you know, what works best. And the trick that I found is to play around with the speed multiplier. So let's go to the pressure. I'm going to add 25. So by default now everything should disappear. Yeah, but if I set the speed multiplier to 0.1, let's say, and press play, now everything is going to look a lot better. So, you know, this is the step that was missing in the tutorial, and this is what kind of helped me out to actually make this work. So, right, now that our speed is set to 0.1, now we can play around again with the tension. So let's try 3. Yes, this looks nice. 2.5. Yes, let's go to 1 to see what's happening. Yeah, so this is pretty nice. And let's play around with the tension again. Let's add, no, not this, the pressure, not the tension. Sorry. So yeah, now it's going to pressurize the ball even faster. So I'm going to keep this at 25. It was nice. And as you can see now, as the simulation keeps playing, we have a lot of intersection, and that's due to the stiffness tension. So I think 1 is not going to work well. You know, you need to really play around with the settings until you have something that works. And 2.5 is great. You know, we don't have any collision happening. So I'm going to press play. So this is the frame that I like. I did add some subdivision. So as you can see now, everything is going to be subdivided, but we lose a lot of the curvature of the ball because we don't have enough geometry on the ball. So we need to, I'm going to close this. We need to go back in our timeline inside of the geometry node and increase or geometry. So in this case, since we don't have a lot of balls, I'm gonna go to 5, right? So this is a lot. And let's hope for the best. I will save this one. And let's press play. As you can see, it's going to take a lot more time. And as you can see now, since we have more geometry, we need to add more pressure. So let's try 50. Yeah, so I think 50 is working great. And now we have those nice details on the spheres. And on top of that, you can also add back even more subdivision. And yeah, that's pretty much how I was able to make this. Have in mind the speed multiplier inside of the cloth physics. And I'm just gonna reopen the original file so I can show you the shading. So this is the first project that I used my ramp generator. As you can see here, we have a lot of things, a lot of colors. And this is the attribute that we created inside of the geometry node to be able to append this in our shader editor and be able to randomize our sphere colors. And the nice thing is that I can go in the color ramp with my ramp generator and just start, generating some colors, and this will be applied to every instance of the sphere. And you can even go, grayscale. And as you can see in my texturing, we do have some tint. So this is subsurface tint. So let's close this up, and I'm going to open up the next project, which is orange. I'm just going to go in the shader for this one, and I'm going to close my subdivision again so we can see what's happening. I'm going to press on render, and yeah, this looks really, really nice. As you can see in the shader, I have 2 different BSDF in the mix, and the factor is linked to the factor or instance attribute. So here we can change the ramp, and I'm going to go to stripes again. And as you can see, different spheres are going to be affected by either this principal BSDF or this one. We have this one, which is a more metallic with the orange color, and another one with the lighter orange gradient. And as you can see, I do have a bump inside of the normal of the first one. And I played around with the ramp generator to be able to randomize those ramp. And I think this was a preset. It was fire. All right. So it was the fire preset that I used here. And down below, it was the sunset. The tip here is to utilize the stored name attribute. So I did name here instance, and you can name it back here to kind of append it inside of the shader editor. And this was a nice little trick. And let's take a look at the third one, the glossy. I think in this one, what I did was to apply the geometry. So I did run the animation, and as you can see, it did open up a lot faster. And I just played around with the shader in this one. So let's press render, and this is what we have. So again, subsurface, some roughness, and I played around with some color ramps. I have exactly the same bump applied, in this case to all of them. So that's pretty much it for the cloth physics simulation. And yeah, I really had a lot of fun working with this. And these 3 projects kind of helped me out to figure out how to create the ramp generator, because I needed to kind of randomize the colors of the spheres. And yeah, so I came up with the ramp generator, and great little add-on to add to Blender, so make sure to install it. And that's it for this video. I will see you guys in the next one. Cheers.